Welcome to CBS Mornings, and hello to your viewers on the West Coast on this last day of February. I'm Gayle.
I'm Tony Dokoupil.
And I'm Burleson.
We're all here. Let's go to today's eye-opener. It's your world in 90 seconds.
President Putin is continuing to escalate this war in a manner that is totally unacceptable.
Ukraine agrees to hold talks with Russia, even as Vladimir Putin puts his nuclear forces on high alert.
We're at the Ukraine-Poland border where refugees are telling their stories.
They come into our country and they kill our people.
A major milestone in the fight against the pandemic, New York, lifting a statewide mandate requiring masks in schools.
And the first criminal trial linked to January 6th starts today. What it could mean going forward.
You'll see with the January 6th committee, we have a very aggressive litigation strategy.
North Korea has fired what could be a ballistic missile. It would be the North's first missile test since last month.
Florida State down by 2 with 1 second left.
The baseball pass. Cleveland the catch. Good if it goes. Oh! Matthew Cleveland wins it for the Noles.
Deaf actors have come a long way.
The film CODIS landed a big win for the deaf community.
Troy Kotsur becoming the first deaf actor to win an individual SAG award.
Now I feel like I'm finally part of the family.
We welcome you to CBS Mornings. That was a very poignant and powerful way that Saturday Night Live opened the show on Saturday night. No skit, no nothing. They went straight to the choir singing, and then said live from New York from Saturday night. Many people in this country feeling for the people of Ukraine today.
Absolutely, and the candles there on the table that spelled out Kyiv.
Kiev, yes.
Touching moment.
Yes, Kiev. It's interesting, Tony, because it means Kyiv in Ukrainian, Kiev in Russian. I was thinking, what's the difference? A Ukrainian friend told me that over the weekend.
Yeah.
We're going to begin today. Our focus again today is, of course, Ukraine, but we also have some fascinating conversations for you today that are coming up a little bit later in the show. Singer Avril Lavigne is back in the spotlight with her new album. It's called Love Sucks, spelled S-U-X, her words. She told Anthony Mason what she wants to say 2 decades into her musical career. Plus, Sir Patrick Stewart will be here with his exciting Season 2 of Star Trek Picard. He says, expect the unexpected.
It's always good. Looking forward to both those conversations. But as Gayle mentioned, we are going to begin in Ukraine with the increasing isolation of Russia's President Vladimir Putin following his invasion of the country. He now says he is putting Russia's nuclear forces into, quote, special combat readiness, end quote, an explicit threat to any nation helping Ukraine, and there are a lot of them. He's also created a domestic crisis for himself as Russian currency plunges in economic value due to the sanctions. They've got real bite.
And as we speak, Russian forces are still battling to take over Ukraine's biggest cities, but so far, they have failed. The much smaller Ukrainian forces have held them off, and now the 2 countries are talking for the first time since the invasion. Charlie Daggett is in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. That's one of the cities under siege right now. Charlie, good morning. What can you tell us?
Good morning. Those crisis talks got underway earlier today here in Ukraine. You may be seeing one of the first images of the meeting taking place. The Ukrainian delegation is demanding an immediate ceasefire. Ukraine's army says it fought off attempts by Russian forces to storm the outskirts of the capital overnight. But generally, it's been quieter here in the city than in the past few nights. Ukrainian troops fight running street battles with Russian forces. Fierce urban combat fending off their advance in what has become a key battleground, Ukraine's second city of Kharkiv. They picked through what's left of a destroyed Russian convoy stopped dead in its tracks. With Ukraine claiming to have stalled the offensive, President Vladimir Putin ordered defense chiefs to put the country's nuclear weapons on high alert. Outgunned and outnumbered, Ukrainian soldiers and civilians alike are mounting a stiff resistance through determination and defiance. Videos shared on social media show citizens standing up. A group of unarmed men blocking the way of tanks, shouting, "Nobody wants war, go home." Another man seen kneeling in front of a tank. A driver mocks stranded Russian soldiers who have run out of fuel, pulling up alongside and offering to tow them back to Russia. But these are dark days. Between the aerial bombardment, a 3-mile-long convoy of Russian reinforcements massed outside the capital, and now Belarus reportedly preparing to join the fight, Kyiv is a city under pressure. This morning, city officials lifted a lockdown that's been in place since Saturday evening, but they warned there's fighting in almost every district in the city. Only leave your homes in case of an emergency. And getting food is an emergency when you don't know when the next lockdown or round of missiles will come.
It is dangerous to come out. It is dangerous to stay at home. It is less dangerous to hide in the bombing shelter. But we hid in the bombing shelter for for 24 hours.
Residents here desperately want to believe there will be a breakthrough, but they're digging in and preparing for what's to come. And even while delegations talk peace, the war rages on. President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's skeptical about peace talks currently underway, saying he doesn't really believe in an outcome. But he added if there was any chance to end the war, Ukraine should be part of it. Nate?
Charlie Dagda in Kyiv, thank you. Ukraine's resistance is getting a big boost from the response of President Volodymyr Zelensky. The former actor is inspiring confidence in his troops while securing weapons, money, and strategic help from the country's many allies. He told Russian soldiers this morning, don't trust your propaganda. Just save your lives and leave. Holly Williams looks at Zelensky's leadership in the face of massive danger.
With his country in crisis, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is the very definition of leading from the front, sharing videos of himself on the street to reassure his people that he's still in the country.
Будемо захищати нашу державу, тому що наша зброя – це наша правда. Наша правда в тому, що це наша земля, наша країна.
He's braving Russian missiles and airstrikes and telling Ukrainians, you are strong, you are unbroken. He reportedly turned down a US offer to help him evacuate, saying, I need ammunition, not a ride. President Zelensky's become an inspiration for those protesting this invasion around the world and for the Ukrainian resistance, which is now in full swing. Across this country, we've seen volunteers who've taken up arms, while others are making Molotov cocktails, including this group of women who've set up an assembly line. Online videos show ordinary Ukrainians accosting Russian troops. Take these seeds, spit this woman at a soldier, so flowers will grow when you die here. But there are also grave fears for President Zelensky's safety. He says he and his young family are Russia's top targets. And during this defiant speech on the weekend, the translator broke down in tears.
Was wir verteidigen. Переможемо. Слава Україні.
Ukraine is fighting for its very existence, led by a man who's put himself in the firing line. For CBS Mornings, Holly Williams.
The war in Ukraine is also inspiring widespread protest inside Russia itself. And observers say more than 5,000 demonstrators have been arrested there. Long lines at Russian banks at the same time are just one of the many signs the Russian economy is plummeting under the pressure of widening sanctions from the West. Reporter Mary Ilyushina is in Moscow for us. Mary, good morning to you. How are people feeling on the streets of Moscow as they watch things unfold in Ukraine?
Good morning. Yeah, people here are definitely unnerved. You know, they're worried that their usual way of life is ending, and it might end very, very soon. They're worried that they might not able to get out of the country or even buy some foreign products. So each time this new headline comes up with new country sanctioning Russia, a lot of them are asking, is it all worth it?
I'm curious to know how Russians are able to get information about what's happening in Ukraine. I know there is disinformation, there is an attempt to censor what's coming into the country. And then also, when Russians do take to the streets, what happens to them?
Yeah, that's a very good point about coverage, because Russian state TV has not been showing Russian forces attacking Kiev or attacking Kharkiv. For them, the way they portray it, it's still a special operation in Donbass. So Russians who watch TV don't really see all the things that are going on in Ukraine. So their only real way to find out what's happening is social media. But the internet regulator here has been taking steps to slow down Twitter, slow down Facebook. And as you mentioned, because of the protests as well, it's becoming increasingly hard to speak out. So it's increasingly hard for Russians who, many of them, are against this war to say that they are.
Yeah, it's said that there's nothing that Vladimir Putin fears more than democracy, free speech, a part of that. And there's a crackdown on those who have taken to the streets. 5,000 demonstrators detained so far. Mary Ilyushina in Moscow for us. Mary, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. It doesn't seem like people in Russia are getting the full story either. Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians are trying to get out of their country to escape those Russian forces. A lot of them have walked many miles to get to the nearest border, where they find extremely long lines. The UN says up to 4 million people could be displaced by the fighting. Poland already has allowed more than 200,000 Ukrainians to enter their country. Chris Livesay is at a border checkpoint in the city of Medyka in Poland.
Just a heartbreaking reality for Ukrainians fleeing bloodshed at home, and now a logjam here at the exit. Dozens line up for food and water after waiting for days just to flee the country.
We knew that it was like something like a war, but we didn't know that it will be actually like on our like whole Ukraine war.
The Russian invasion is ripping apart their homes. The UN says pushing more than 360,000 refugees to flee, most of them to Poland, which is just on the other side of that crossing. So close, but it's a bottleneck. Cars, buses, trucks, all lined up for miles. Some carry children, some carry pets, just anything they could grab in a hurry. Notice most people here are women and children. Men of fighting age have been ordered to stay in Ukraine, possibly to fight in this new conflict between Putin and the West. For CBS Mornings, Chris Livesay on the Ukraine border.
Chris Livesay reporting from the border. Chris, thank you very much. It's been pointed out by others, guys, and it doesn't escape our notice as well, that while these refugees are being welcomed into these neighboring countries of Ukraine, that has not always been the case. In Poland in 2015, refugees from Africa and the Middle East met a different degree of welcome, and sometimes no welcome at all. So it's a difference that we're going to be staying on top of and trying to get a full picture of what is the worst refugee crisis since World War II. And in fact, more people are displaced today than at any time since World War II globally. Big picture, every country.
Yeah, the numbers are staggering. Most of those refugees are women and children, because of men between the ages of 18 and 60. Are being told, we need you here. And most of them say, we want to stay and fight for our country.
And a lot of people are wondering, what aid will America provide? And on that subject, let's talk about President Biden. The U.S. government's response to the crisis is evolving by the hour. President Biden spent the weekend meeting with his national security team and consulting with allies. And he is also working on his first State of the Union address, scheduled for tomorrow night. Ed O'Keefe is with the president in Wilmington, Delaware. Ed, good morning.
Tony, good morning. The president's yet to hold another meeting with allies to work on that coordinated response. And as he puts the finishing touches on his State of the Union address, aides now warn that it's likely going to focus a bit more than expected on world events.
President Biden faces a series of daunting challenges as he prepares to give his first formal State of the Union address. The pandemic, a Supreme Court confirmation fight, a stalled legislative agenda, and then there's the crisis in Ukraine. The Biden administration swiftly condemned Vladimir Putin's decision to put Russian nuclear deterrence forces on special alert.
President Putin is continuing to escalate this war in a manner that is totally unacceptable. And we have to continue to condemn his actions in the strongest possible way.
The president is joining forces with European allies by kicking most Russian banks out of SWIFT, an international banking messaging system that makes global transactions easier. New sanctions will also target Russia's central bank. And allies are beginning to target Russian oligarchs with ties to Putin who shield his wealth in offshore accounts.
I love this because it's personal. Vladimir Putin has shown what he is. He's a thug. He's a despot.
Some Republicans want the administration to also target Russia's energy sector.
I'd like to see the oil industry affected.
It's time for the president and some of our European partners to quit pussyfooting around.
The White House is reluctant to do so, at least for now.
But we also want to do that and make sure we're minimizing the impact on the global marketplace and do it in a united way.
Also this week, Mr. Biden's Supreme Court nominee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, is scheduled to begin meeting with senators, as Democrats hope to have her confirmed by Easter, hopefully with GOP votes.
It is in the best interest not only of the Supreme Court, but of the United States Senate for this to be bipartisan.
So it's not yet clear if the president plans to introduce something new regarding his domestic agenda, maybe something on climate change or reviving that child tax credit, since aides say it's foreign policy that is now dominating so much of his time. Tony?
Yeah, but there is a big UN report out today as well. We're going to talk about that later. Ed, thank you very much. Also later, we'll talk about the U.S. response with retired Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, an American born in Ukraine, who became the Russia expert for the Joint Chiefs of Staff and then the National Security Council. He knows his stuff. We look forward to hearing his perspective.
Yeah, we sure do. In other news, the first criminal trial from the January 6th assault on the Capitol begins this morning. A Texas man accused of carrying a gun during the riot is the first defendant to face a jury. Scott McFarland is outside the courthouse in Washington to show us how this trial could have wide-ranging implications. Scott, good morning.
Hey, Nate, good morning to you. For the first time, the U.S. Justice Department is showing its hand in a January 6th case, setting the tone for potentially hundreds more cases to come. Guy Reffitt of the Dallas area is accused of charging at police while having that gun on his waistband. He's facing charges of unlawful transport of a firearm in furtherance of civil disorder and obstructing the work of the U.S. Congress. He's also accused of being a member of this Three Percenters militia group. Another member of that group is on the prosecutor's witness list. So too are Reffitt's son and daughter, whom he's accused of threatening if they turned him into the FBI. Reffitt has been jailed pending trial in this case. He's pleaded not guilty, faces decades behind bars if convicted. He tried to get this trial moved from this Washington, D.C. courthouse to his home state of Texas, arguing the media coverage was going to bias the jury. That request was denied. Of the nearly 750 federal defendants in the Capitol riot, about a third of them have pleaded guilty. But Gayle, the other two-thirds, will closely watch what happens here beginning this morning.
We're all going to be watching this. Thank you very much, Scott.
We've got much more coverage ahead of the invasion of Ukraine. Our Jill Schlesinger will show us how growing sanctions hurt Russia's economy, especially its banking system. But first, it is 7:17. Time to check your local.
The KPIX 5 7-day forecast is sponsored by PG&E.
Good Monday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Mary Lee with your first alert weather forecast. And it's a chilly start to our day with clear skies. And as we head through the afternoon, definitely feeling like spring with temperatures into the 60s and 70s with plenty of sunshine, even warmer compared to yesterday. San Francisco, Oakland, and for San Jose, 60s and 70s there. Tracking the chance for some showers as we look to Thursday in East Bay, the North Bay, and for the coast. Check out those warm temperatures today.
The bond you have with your dog starts the day you bring your puppy home. It did for us with Blue.
And boy, did he become a family member. Whatever you were doing, he'd be there.
It was when he got sick, we decided to go into the pet food business and start Blue Buffalo.
We knew we wanted to start with real meat, whole grains, and fruits and vegetables. Ingredients that you'd want to feed your family member. Blue loved his Blue Buffalo food, and your dog will too.
At Blue, we know how much one dog can change our lives. That's why we're working with Sierra Delta. When you purchase Blue Buffalo at Walmart, we'll make a donation to help provide service dogs for veterans.
I smoked, and I have COPD. My children are really worried. My tip is send your kids a text. It may be the last time that you do.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
One by Poise is our first pad that handles period weeks and bladder leaks, which is just what you need while you handle... Stay clean, fresh, and dry while you handle it all. Find it in the FemCare aisle.
So, you found the number 7 then?
It's amazing.
Hydrates better than the expensive stuff.
I don't live here, so I'm taking this and what